One of the comments has pointed out Super Soka Show has pointed out the the kwateng package innuendos have become utterly tiresome. Please stop it. It's boring, not funny, and tedious. Well, the point about the package is, and I'm pleased you asked me. Oh, mock not the afflicted. Don't mock the afflicted. It might be one of your own. Well, the point is that the reference to a package was a continual refrain in the Liz Truss administration. She was constantly talking. In fact, you don't believe me? Let me play you a piece of Liz Truss here. This is just one example of her reference to the package, Kwasi Kwarteng's package.
That when I came into office, people were facing energy bills of up to £6,000 a year. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, the party opposite are shouting, but he is opposing the very package that we brought in, the energy price guarantee.
So the fact that I've picked up the package and I sort of enjoy playing with it and referencing it is, it's there in open sight. It was used as a refrain almost every day in Parliament while Liz Truss was the Prime Minister. And Kwasi Kwarteng also referred to the package as well as other members of the cabinet. And as for innuendo, if you go back to Max Miller would have said very clearly that that's all in your own mind. You're doing that. I'm not doing that. And I've not referenced anything remotely inappropriate. But the art of innuendo and its roots with Max Miller, it goes back much before that, long before that as well, through the bawdy world of Carry On into the irreverent genius of Frankie Howerd. Max Miller, this self-styled cheeky chappie, was the master of insinuation, and his smut was never explicit. His jokes were blue but never crude, and with a glint in his eye and a knowing pause, Max Miller left the risque punchlines unsaid, letting the audience fill in the blanks. And he said, "I know what you're thinking. Shame on you." It's the audience's fault, not Max Miller's fault. And Miller's success, and Frankie Howerd did exactly the same thing, by the way. Miller's success lay in his ability to manipulate the strict censorship of his era, and by stopping short, he invited complicity, drawing his audiences into the naughtiness. You need to check my film on the history of the music hall, part 2, and Max Miller's transition into film was a failure. Why? Because his charm was inherently interactive, a live performance tailored to the complicity with the audience in front of him. And on stage, he was the rogue flirting harmlessly with the housewife in the second row. On screen, his rapid fire chatter became abrasive and unattractive. And the person who managed to transform the Max Miller act from stage to screen was Frankie Howerd. And that was Frankie Howerd's brilliance. And it was also, to a certain extent, the brilliance of the Carry On films, perfecting the art of innuendo. And these films revelled in the double entendre. Sid James' cackle, Barbara Windsor's short, saucy wink, Kenneth Williams' "oh, matron." And the Carry On series it thrived on Britain's simultaneous prudishness on the one hand and fascination with bawdiness on the other, using the same technique that Miller pioneered, leaving just enough unsaid to let the audience laugh at their own imagination. And the formula worked because it played to a collective embarrassment about the whole gamut of subjects which was forbidden under the censorship laws. Innuendo flourishes in a society where taboos exist, creating a tension between propriety and desire, and it's a linguistic striptease, revealing just enough to make it irresistible. Enter Frankie Howerd. Frankie Howerd is one of the great heroes in my mind, whose comic genius lay in his ability to weaponize the titter. Oh, titter not. And actually, he's paralleled by the much by the much blander fellow Ken Dodd. Ken Dodd was faster and blander and in some ways quicker, but Frankie Howerd was the master and the original. And if the word titter makes you giggle, Frankie Howerd had already won. Get your titters out, madam. His persona, half flustered, half lecherous, dragged the audience into the world of mock scandal. And Howard's asides to the audience were revolutionary, breaking the fourth wall on stage and then breaking the fourth wall in television. Not to push the story forward, but to abandon it entirely to a shared moment of conspiracy, of conspiratorial hilarity. So when up Pompeii, Howard's character Lurkio never got to the end of the he never got through the prologue at all, because he wasn't interested in that. He was interested in commenting on his own narrative failures. And his signature, titter not, ooh, don't mock the afflicted, please yourself. They were more than catchphrases. They were invitations to participate in this in this degeneration. Frankie didn't just perform to the audience, he colluded with them. And the brilliance of innuendo lies in its subtlety. Unlike explicit jokes, innuendo requires the audience to work, to think, and most importantly, to conspire. And it creates a bond between the performer and the audience, and that's why it works. And that's why, you know, if there's any innuendo at all, I'm sure there's not here. If there's any innuendo at all on YouTube, it's because there's an audience. And Miller's rapid-fire charm, Howard's shambolic delivery, both drew the audiences into their words because both of them promote the image of vulnerability. And their comedy wasn't shocking or offensive. It was about creating complicity. And the laughs they elicited, they weren't just reactions, they were admissions. Innuendo's charm endures because at its heart it's about humanity and about failure, and we laugh at innuendo because it reveals our own vulnerability, our own suppressed desire, our own shared discomfort about what is unsaid. And Frankie Howerd's genius was to make us laugh at ourselves, at our prudery, at our hypocrisy, at our susceptibility to the well-timed and Kenneth Williams as well. And what is interesting about Frankie Howerd is he managed to move from that sort of pantomime comedy into politics as well. I blame her. That was the week that was. And so whether it's Max Miller's Blue Book jokes, Sid James' filthy laugh, or Frankie Howerd's and by the way, you owe me a cucumber, the value of innuendo is absolutely clear. And it's not just the way I tell them. It's what's left behind for you to imagine. Do you remember the Cucumber song? Oh, what a beauty! I've never seen one as big as that before. Oh, what a beauty! It must be 2 foot long or even more. It's such a lovely colour, so nice and round and fat. I never thought a marrow could grow as big as that. It's just a piece of farmhouse fun. And if there's anything there that remotely causes offence, that's the problem of the audience. It's in your mind, not mine. Now, you please yourself. So if you've got a favourite comic character who has mastered innuendo in the way that Frankie Howerd, Max Miller managed to do, I'd love to hear about them. Not too loudly. Someone might overhear and get the wrong idea. You know what they're like. Ooh, matron.